Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Dr. Avery and the team. Can I just try the howdy thing? Because I've never done that in my whole life. All right, say 1, 2, 3, howdy. Howdy. Oh man, that gave me chills. That is awesome. I'm super excited to be on a real stage talking with real people. I've done Zoom keynotes, and those, I'm telling you, everyone turns off their camera and it just falls flat. So to have this energy, to be back, and these are extension peeps. And so this doesn't happen all of the time. I just feel this connection already. So let me give you a little bit of background about the whole Dr. Dave thing. Graduated from Auburn University, went to University of Missouri. It was my first semester, and it was a class. It was not this big. It was about this big right here. And I remember coming home and I was telling my wife, honey, it's so funny. The students call me Dr. Dave. And our daughter at the time, she just starts to giggle. She's about 4 years old, and she starts to giggle. And I say, what's so funny, Mallory? She said, Dad, you're not a doctor. I said, actually, Mallory, I've been to 10 years of school. I'm trying to convince this 4-year-old I'm a doctor. And she looks up at me and she says, Dad, you're not a doctor. You don't help anybody. And I thought, I'm going to help you to your room, young lady, right? So I promise I really am a doctor, the kind that tries to help people to have healthy, happy relationships. Today I'm going to talk about some happy hacks, some science-backed happy hacks that can help you personally, professionally, to be more productive, to be happier in your homes, in your offices, with the people that you work with. And I'm going to talk about 8 principles with these happy hacks. But first, let me start. The whole COVID thing, it's been just a bugaboo, hasn't it? It's really thrown things off life for all of us in our work, in our families, relationships. Let me tell you about a couple. This is Harold and Marge. Harold and Marge, they lived in Minnesota, and they said, you know what, we've been cooped up for a couple years. Let's go. Let's go down to Orlando. So I said, all right. So they get their tickets, and actually, Harold had to fly down a day earlier, and Marge flew down, and Harold's going to fly down the next day, but their schedules didn't line up. So he gets in, he checks in the hotel, and he says, I'm going to send my wife an email. So he sends an email and leaves out one letter in her email address, but without realizing the error, he hits send. Meanwhile, a widow in Houston. This widow lives in Houston. She gets home her husband passed away. He was a pastor, and she comes home from the funeral. She checks her email, expecting messages from loved ones, family members. She gets on, she reads the first message, and she screams. She passes out. Her son rushes into the room, looks at the screen, and it says, in the subject line, I've arrived. Hello, honey, I know you're surprised to hear from me. They have computers here now, and you're allowed to send emails to your loved ones. I've just arrived and been checked in. I see that everything has been prepared for your arrival tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you then. Hope your journey is as uneventful as mine was. P.S. It sure is stinking hot down here. Love you. Okay, how many of you ever done that? Have you ever sent a text or an email, and as soon as you send that bugger and you look back and something that you have said or done, you wish you could take that back? I hear on the updated iOS system that you can now take back messages. Won't that be great? That will save a lot of misunderstanding, won't it? Okay, COVID has been quite the trick. It's like, a little cup of 2020 and ding right in the face. Matthew McConaughey, on January 1st, he was all smiles doing those Lincoln commercials. And then by June, he was like, holy smokes. This is what you guys look like as well, right? I'm sure it was. It was nuts. Family time took on a whole different meaning, didn't it? Do you remember that with the kids? At first, it was like, oh my, this is really cool. How many of you raise your hand if you had kids, young kids, coming home, you homeschooled? Yes. Yeah. That's why you're here and you're extending a few days, isn't it? It was really crazy. I remember going out to get in the mail, and then the next day, my wife, because we get paper, rock, scissors to who go gets the mail so you can have a break, she didn't come back for 2 weeks. So I thought, wait a minute, get back here. We're doing this thing together. It was really rough. Do you remember? Okay, the whole thing. Before you could just order masks or create your own, it was nuts. You saw like Star Wars and Star Trek characters and people all over the place and wearing scuba gear. It was crazy, wasn't it? Now, I just have to, I hope this woman's not in the audience. Okay, the Scotch pad, I guarantee you there are more chemicals in that sucker that she's putting on her face than anything she can get from anyone else, right? It was a crazy time. It was really rough. So I'm here to share A few little happy hacks, some things, some ideas that can help you to be happier and healthier because we're so much more productive. So let me give you some examples of what I mean by a hack. So this, for example, raise your hand if you have twins. Anyone have twins in here? Raise your hands. Yes, yeah, you have twins. It's brilliant, right? Just brilliant. Instead of trying to figure out, the little freckle on one or whatever, you just shave one or two in their hands. Yeah, this is brilliant. Okay, what about this one? Okay, toilet paper. Anyone worked in the preschools or have little kids and they would just go through that? You're like, no, save everyone. You had to actually make a little mark. Okay, this one, this is more of like a lazy dad. It's like, Dad, let's go swing. And he's, it's so hot and humid out there. I'll just, do this and grab my beverage. And okay, a little hack. What about this one? Anyone have troubles with kids in the car? Now, they don't even know that their sibling's next to them, right? They don't even know they have a sibling until they're like 3 years old. Okay, now this one's actually a little bit creepy, isn't it? Look, notice what it's called. If you want your kids to feel loved, but you're just too tired, you just do the old bait and switch. You're patting them, and then all of a sudden you put a beanbag on, and then you slowly walk out of the room. But apparently it's really catching on. You go to Pinterest, and these are all over the place. That's kind of sad. Isn't it kind of sad? Okay, this one, every one of us need one of these. You can put on your door in your office, right? You could put in the kitchen, right? I'm out of order. I am done. Or when you run into those inconvenience machines at the store, you put that on there. But this one is perhaps one of my favorites. This is, how many of you have your secret stash? And your kids, no matter where, they're going to find the stash. Unless, right there in the edamame or the frozen broccoli bag, kids are not going to search there, are they? Brilliant. So that's the type of stuff that I'm going to be talking about today. Some of these hacks that can help you, but these are science-backed, happy hacks to help us. Okay, but on a more serious note, what COVID came and it really hit people hard with mental health, physical health. We had deaths. It was a horrible experience for many people. In fact, historically, we hit this all-time low in happiness. We tanked. And I'm going to explain a little bit about why specifically that happened. So what is it really that predicts happiness? And you may not be able to see some of these charts. They did surveys and said, okay, what is it that makes people happy? It's relationships. It's finding meaning. It's parent-child relationships. It's being able to contribute to something bigger and better than yourselves. What is it on the bottom 5 predictors? You see, well, I don't know if this applies in Texas, but access to sports and entertainment. I remember just watching reruns of Utah Jazz games, and it started to get old after a while. Time spent on social media, that's this bottom one if you can't see it. Time spent on social media, but that's really what we had access to, and a lot of kids had access to, and contributed, I think, to some of the mental health struggles that we have endured. So we've had some bitter years. So how do we become better? Because when we experience adversity and difficulty, we really have 2 choices: to become bitter or to become better. And that's what I'm going to focus my remarks on today. I'm going to start with fundamentally, big picture, we all are born in this life with at least 3 fundamental human needs. The first need that we're all born with is the need for safety. This is physical safety, food, clothing, shelter, that type of thing, as well as emotional safety, feeling like I can risk with someone, either a coworker or a boss or a loved one, feel like I can share something of who I really am and I'm accepted and there's no reprimand for actually trying to risk and share with someone else. So physical and emotional safety, when that need is met, the underlying feeling then, the result is a feeling of peace. There's not this worry and concern about my safety. Second need that we all have is the need for satisfaction, to do fun, enjoyable things. Whether that is going out and going bowling or getting pizza or going on a vacation, doing fun, enjoyable things. And that, when we're able to do that and have our bowl of ice cream and watch our Netflix series, then at the end of the day, what we feel, a feeling of contentment. The third need that we all have is the need for connection. All of us are born in this life with this longing for belonging, this craving for connection with other human beings. How does that happen? It happens through kindness, through gratitude, through getting together at conferences like this where we're able to connect. I love the energy. I was talking to Dr. Avery. This is amazing to see people back together talking, interacting. And when that need is met, It's a feeling of love. Now, pause everything. What happened? COVID-19 comes, boom, and it shuts down. Life as we know it. But why did we tank in the lowest happiness of all time? Because of the three needs. Think about it. Safety, physical safety, that was, mask and all the vaccine, all this stuff to help us keep us safe. Satisfaction, you can no longer go bowling. You can't go out with your friends. You can't even go out to dinner anymore. And connection. Can't see your parents. Can't see loved ones, family, friends, neighbors, those at church, those people. So that is why we tanked so hard. Is because those three fundamental human needs, safety, satisfaction, connection. Memorize it all. I'm actually going to quiz you. Memorize safety, satisfaction, connection. So that's one part of this big picture. The second part is that there are three types of happiness. When I talk about happiness, I love the work by Dr. Martin Seligman. Some of you are familiar with that. He talks about these three types of happiness. The first is the pleasant life. And that just is doing fun, enjoyable things. For me, that's peanut M&Ms and a Diet Dr. Pepper and roller coasters and doing fun, enjoyable things. The second type of happiness is different, and that is the good life. The good life is where we're able to use our strengths to contribute to something. And it can be reading a book. It can be contributing to a project. That's the good life. The third type of happiness he talks about is the meaningful life. The meaningful life is never about you. It's about something higher. It's about something bigger, contributing to a bigger cause. This is donating blood or helping refugees or volunteering at your child's school. It's doing something that's bigger and better. Ultimately, I love the Greek definition of happiness, and that is the joy you feel moving toward your potential. So as we think about happiness, and I talk about happiness hacks, it's really important to remember that there are at least three types of happiness that we're talking about. And I'll talk about all three of these as we talk now this morning. Previous thinking on happiness, though, was this. This is actually for decades, for hundreds of years, really. The previous thinking was this. Happiness is the reward we get for doing our very best. If I work really hard in my relationship at home, if I work really hard in my couple relationship, or if I just bust my can at work, then I'll be successful. And then at the end of the day, I can go home and I can be happy. It's this feeling of, yes, now I'm happy. That was previous thinking. New research in positive psychology and neuroscience is showing that it actually works the other way around. That when we're positive and happy first, it spills over into every other learning outcome. We're so much more productive. Productivity increases at work. Accuracy of diagnoses with doctors increases. In fact, in hotels, they are training now their workers, some of them are not getting the message, and Walmart worker greeters, to actually smile and welcome you to the hotel, because they know when people are positive and happy, it spills over into every other learning outcome that we have measured. So we have to be able to get over, we can have happiness at the end of the day, but really positivity and happiness, what I'm talking about today, will fuel all of these other outcomes in our lives. So what about happiness? Where does it come from? Some research suggests that about half of the difference between one person's happiness and another person's happiness in this happiness pie is genetic. So we can either thank or curse our parents for about half of our happiness. What about the rest, though? It turns out that about 10% of our happiness is due to stuff. The type of car that you drive, the phone that you have, how much money is in your bank account, even who you're in a relationship with, only contributes to about 10% of that. Why? Because we tend to get used to things really quickly. If you've been here several nights, maybe the first night you check in, you're like, oh man, this place is great. By the third night, you're like, man, this is a dump. Yeah, you start noticing all these things. We tend to get used to things. A new car even, and it's like, oh, this is amazing. And then you start seeing the flaws or you start comparing it with others. And that's why it's only about 10%, because we can never get enough of what you don't need. Where does the 40% though? This slice of the happiness pie, this is what I'm going to talk about today, and that is our thoughts. These are our actions. These are our behaviors. These are things that we have so much more control over, is this 40% of the slice of the pie. That's what gets me excited. I think, wow, I can't change a whole lot of my set point, and I can work really hard and get a lot of money and travel and do stuff, and it brings these spikes of happiness, but this part is what we have so much more control over. So these 8 principles Really 8 words. Search inward, turn outward, look upward, and press forward. Those are the 8 principles. Those, in my mind, as I've looked at the science of resilience, the science of happiness and positivity and personal well-being, I like to summarize it in these 8 words. And I'll take each of these sections, these 4 clusters of 2 words, one at a time. Let me start with search inward. Search inward. One of the best things that we can do to start out in our lives is to discover our strengths, to discover and use our personal strengths. Now, this is not what I'm talking about as far as, singing and dancing, those types of strengths. But the inner strengths of curiosity, of humor, of positivity, of kindness, of forgiveness, those types of strengths, when we exercise those, the happiest people on this planet are those who discover and use their strengths. So here's actually a homework assignment. I would love for each of you to go back home, it's free, this VIA character strengths. Take this little survey, come back then in your offices, talk about the results. What this will do, it will kick out your top 5 signature strengths. Spirituality, curiosity, again, those types of things that are part of us that we can develop. Get to know the strengths of your family members, of your co-workers, but make time to discover and use your strengths. I actually printed mine out, my 5 strengths. I put them in a Word document. I printed them out, and they're in this little Word document that I taped to the bottom of my computer screen. So literally, I look at and focus on my strengths every single day. I'm well aware of my weaknesses, but the key is manage weaknesses, focus on strengths. Manage weaknesses, focus on our strengths. And this is a great one. There's other strengths finders and those types of assessments, but I'm a big fan of Martin Seligman and the work that he's done there. Finding flow. This is not the name of the cow. It's not flow. Flow is that concept, that idea where we immerse ourselves so heavily into something that we almost lose track of time. And my son was like, "Yeah, Fortnite, Dad. I'm like, no, that is not what we're talking about. Flow is this concept. Again, it can be reading a book. It can be contributing to a project, or gardening, taking care of horses, or farming. That type of activity is what is called flow. It was developed by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He said this: it's a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it, even at a great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it. And then he says this: the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing moments at the beach. Well, he didn't say that. He said the best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. I love that. Yes, it's good to have a vacation and go and chill on the beach and not do anything for a little bit. But have you ever noticed on those types of trips, after a day or two, it's like, man, I want to do something. The body and the brain are meant to be productive, to contribute, to work, to think about, to solve a problem or an issue. That's what this is talking about. It's when productivity and creativity, they collide. Working on a project. How many of you ever worked on a project and you look up at the clock and you're like, oh my goodness, 3 hours, it went so fast. That's the state of flow. Athletes call it getting in the zone. They just drown out the crowd. They're so immersed in it. That's a wonderful state to be in. Not all the time, but at some points in our lives, to be able to make time each week for this idea, this concept of flow. Okay, where's our meditators? Meditators? Yeah, yes. This mindfulness meditation stuff, and it's been around for, thousands of years. But now the science is finally catching up, and science has actually shown that the frontal lobe, you can actually increase the thickness of the gray matter in our frontal lobe. Isn't that amazing? In 8 weeks of meditation, you want thick gray matter. That's focus and attention and compassion and problem solving right there, with being able to slow down, to pause, and to just be. And that's something that we're not very good at, because we are a go, go, go society. There's a reason that Google actually sends out a message to their employees that says, okay, take your hands off the keyboard and just close your eyes and just focus on your breath for 2 minutes. Do you know that they do that? Because they know they actually have a chief officer of happiness. Yeah, at Google. Wouldn't that be great? That's a great title. To be able to just Breathe. Because they know, they have figured out that happy workers are productive workers. And so being able to just reset, even for a couple minutes at lunch, to pause, to breathe, deep, deep breaths is very, very good for us. Okay, now, why? Because mindfulness, meditation, it actually trains the brain to focus. Studies have shown that about 47% of the time when you're engaged in activity, you're thinking about something other than what you're doing. So, okay, you got to be honest with me. Okay, raise your hands if during the time that I've been talking so far, you've been looking up here, but your mind has wandered. Raise your hands. Raise them. Okay, those are the truthful folks. The rest of you are liars, man. You're all liars. Okay, I know that. Yeah, you guys are kind or whatever. Yeah. I know that because 47% of the time, we're actually thinking about something other than what we're focused on. Researchers looked at that. They've done actually survey with 15,000 people, and they send them random texts throughout the day, and they say, okay, what are you doing? And how happy are you right now? And are you focusing on what you're doing? And it ranges all over the place, from grooming and self-care. How many of you, when you took a shower? Well, how many of you took a shower? No, don't raise your hand. I mean, when you took a shower, you're like, oh man, this armpit is really clean today, and this one is too. And no, we don't do that. We tend to mind wander. Now, mind wandering in the shower can actually be very helpful, our creative process. But too much mind wandering is not good for us. They found that mind wandering, too much in excess, is related to unhappiness. Because when we mind wander, we tend to go to one of two places. The positive or the negative stuff that's happening, in the fear in the future, and the negative stuff in the past. But it varies, right? Commuting. How many of you ever driven to work or driven home and you pull in, you're like, holy smoke, how did I get here? Yeah, that's kind of freaky. Yeah, and you consider all these other drivers are doing the same thing 63% of the time. That's why all these accidents, listening to music, doing housework, working. Dr. Avery, you need to check on this. About half the time, I'm working. You're not working. You're thinking about something else. You're checking the gram. You're doing all this other stuff that you're doing. Okay, shopping, taking care of your kids. Okay, now I know most of you are not honest. How many of you taking care of your kids and your child comes up, or a child you work with, and they start sharing something, you're like, oh my goodness, no way, is that right, really? And you have no idea what they just said, right? Who's with me? Yeah, that's right. Good, yes, parenting 101, that's one of the first things is fake it, just get a lot of, okay, reading, eating, exercising, even talking. You're talking to someone, you're just nodding. You have no idea because your mind's someone else. Okay, don't ask your loved one about that last one because they may not ask. Okay, I'm curious about Zoom because Zoom was not on here. Where do you think Zoom comes right here? Yeah, about right there. Yeah, I just added that one. Yeah, those 2%, those are liars too, right there on the survey too. But it is, our minds tend to wander. So mindfulness, meditation, being able to slow down, be in the moment. In fact, what's one of the greatest gifts you can ever give another human being? It's not your time. It's your attention. Your all-in attention, my friends, is one of the greatest gifts you can give another person. Because right now you're giving me your time. But the greatest gift you can give me right now is what? It's your attention. It's not interesting with other people, with meetings and who you're with. Be all in. Give someone your all in attention. When you're with them, be there with them. And strive not to let your mind wander so many times in these situations. Okay, so being able to enjoy the present moment, who you're with and what you're doing. That's the happiest people on this planet that I know have learned to enjoy their day. Simply put, the happiest people I know on this planet are those who have learned to enjoy their day. So all of us experience emotions in the present moment. And everyone's like, Dr. Dave, that was brilliant. It's like, duh. All of us experience emotions in the present moment, but stick with me. Many of our emotions are anchored either in the past or in the future. Now look and notice those emotions that are anchored in the past. For example, look at these. Grief, anger, sadness. Yes, we experience them right now, but they're often about something that has happened in the past. And we can actually make ourselves really upset by thinking about an argument that we had with our partner or a child or a coworker. Just thinking about it was in the past, can make you angry. Thinking about something that happened in the past can make you sad. Now, what I'm not saying is you shouldn't experience these emotions. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't set up camp in the past. It's okay to look in the rearview mirror of life, but choose not to stare. You can't change any of that stuff that's happened in the past. There is a reason the windshield is this big, and those mirrors that we look into are smaller. And so, yes, it's okay to go there. When you're there, be all in sad. Experience grief and sadness. Don't try to push those emotions away. That's not what I'm saying. But just don't stay there forever. Look at those emotions that are anchored in the future. This is stress. This is worry. This is concern. Anxiety. Where is that? It is, we experience it now, but it's anchored in the future. Isn't that wild when we think, oh my goodness. So when our minds wander, we tend to wander to the extremes, either in the past or in the future. Where's the best place to be? All in attention? It's right there in the now. Being all in now. That's joy, that's peace, that's pleasure. Experience those. You see some of those, hope and optimism, anticipation in the future. That's great. Gratitude, looking back in the past, that's actually a great exercise. The lesson here is paying attention to your emotions, to what you're feeling, to experience those, but don't do it by default. Do it intentionally. Intentionally experience those and then be with those emotions. But learn to enjoy who you're with and what you're doing, and you'll be happier in this life. One of my favorite quotes is by Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, your mind is like a piece of land planted with many different kinds of seeds of joy, peace, mindfulness, those are present, remember, understanding and love, seeds of craving, anger, that's in the past, fear, that's the future, hate and forgetfulness. These many different kinds of seeds are always there, sleeping in the soil of your mind. The quality of your life depends on the seeds you water. That, to me, I had to just mic drop moment. The quality of your life depends on the seeds that you water. If you plant tomato seeds in your gardens, tomatoes will grow. Well, not in my garden, but most gardens. Just so if you water a seed of peace in your mind, peace will grow. When the seeds of happiness in you are watered, you become happy. When the seed of anger in you is watered, you become angry. He concludes the seeds that are watered frequently are those that will grow strong. When I finally understood that, really deeply understood that I am the one holding the watering can. I'm the master gardener. I'm the one that gets to water. Those seeds are all there. And not just to experience and let my mind wander and go here to worry and concern, but me, I need to control that of the seeds that I'm watering. So you control the seeds that you water in your own mouth. No one can make you mad. We've heard that. You're the one holding that can. So water those seeds that you want to water and those seeds that you want to grow. Okay, second, turn outward. So as we search inward and then we turn outward, searching inward is about you, not in a selfish sense, but it's about discovering your strengths. Then you can use those strengths to help and serve others. The happiest people I know get this. They understand search inward first, turn outward second. The unhappiest people I know have mixed up these words. Let me explain. They search outward for happiness in stuff and things and social media and look at me, pick me, that type of an attitude. And that results in them turning inward. And that is completely different. You mix up those words and it is complete unhappiness. Turning inward means I can't even see you. But that's really the secret of happiness, is turning outward. So when I search outward for happiness and stuff, you'll find it temporarily, but it'll always leave you empty. And if we turn inward, that will leave us empty as well. So here's the secret. Gratitude, it starts with gratitude. When we are grateful, we are happy. We know from studies that gratitude helps us recover from loss and trauma. Anyone experienced any of that in their lives? It helps us to deal with the slow drip of everyday stress, as well as the massive personal upheavals in the face of suffering and pain and loss and trials and tribulations. Gratitude is absolutely essential. It's part of our psychological immune system. Wow, that is powerful. What is our physical immune system supposed to do? To fight off. When we get sick, we boost it with vitamin C and all these oils and things, and we try to boost our immune system to fight it off. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't get sick, even if we take all the vitamins and everything. What it means is that we'll help recover. Same thing with gratitude. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be unhappy and have rough days, but it can help us bounce back. It's absolutely essential to focus on those things that we're grateful for. Here's some gratitude hacks. I'm going to share some of these. These are very specific things that you can start implementing. They don't take long at all. You can start today. Some of you have seen some of these 3 good things. Simply writing down 3 good things. They did a napkin study. So they had people write 3 things that they were grateful for and why they were grateful for those on a napkin. And then they actually had them throw them away right there. They're like, wait a minute, why? They wanted to see, is it the mental process of going through and focusing on gratitude, or is it keeping it in a journal? And they actually found that those 2 are the same. Now, keep the gratitude journal, but they wanted to know, what is it? It's the mental process of pausing, reflecting, going through your day, at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day. What are 3 things that I'm so grateful for? The next one, top 10 people, places, experiences, and things in your life. This is really all that we can be grateful for, isn't it? People, places, experiences, and things. I challenge people to make a column of those. Come up with your top 10. What are those things that you're so grateful for? What are those experiences, the places, the things that you're so grateful for? Because during that process, they're not thinking about them. I have yet to have anyone say, yeah, me. Yeah, no, it's others. That's the focus. A gratitude letter or a gratitude visit. This has been done scientifically over and over. They ask people to write a letter to someone in their top 10. Now, if possible, read that letter out loud to that person, a gratitude letter. If they have passed away, you can still write it and read it out loud. Be prepared for this one. This one is really powerful, very emotional, but to be very vulnerable and express that gratitude to that person. If you can't, you can call them, you can FaceTime them, you can even mail that letter to them, but let them know. What I wanted for I remember my 35th birthday, you know what I wanted for my parents? I wanted a letter from them, as if it was the last letter that they would ever write to me. That's all I wanted. I say, Mom and Dad, I just want a letter from you. What lessons have you learned that you want to pass on to me? What do you want to make sure that I always remember after you're gone? What do you want? And they both wrote me a letter. They were both so vulnerable, and they expressed their love, their gratitude to me. And I hold on to those letters. Those are treasures. Both my parents, I'm so grateful, are still alive. My mom's battling liver cancer right now. But I'm grateful I have those. If you're a parent, if you have parents, ask them for a letter, as if it was the last letter that you would ever write. Write those letters for your kids. Let them know now before you are gone or your parents are gone. Ask for that letter. It's very powerful. Another thing, one of the things we do in the Schramm fam, at nighttime, in our family, we have a family prayer, and then I say one thing that made me happy that day. One thing that I'm grateful for. Then my wife does. And then each of our 4 kids mention one thing. They reflect back on the day. What's the best part of your day? And then we talk about that. And I learn about my kids and their experiences of what they've done. And all of us are able to celebrate with them and be like, oh my goodness, that was awesome, or wonderful. Happy thoughts. You can do it at dinner time, nighttime. Find the time. Make the time. Now, I don't want to give you this rosy picture that the Schramm fam, we sing Kumbaya and we're this perfect little family. There are some nights when my happy thought is your butt's in bed and your butt's in bed and you stay in bed and it's bedtime, dang it. Yeah, and I get frustrated. I lose my cool at times too. But try this happy hack. Happy thoughts. Mental subtraction. Go back to your list of your top things, experiences, places, and mentally subtract. Even when you're brushing your teeth at night or in the morning, just mentally subtract. What would my life be like without, and then insert a person or experience or a place or a thing in your life. It causes gratitude in your heart. Mental subtraction. One of my all-time favorites I came up with is called text 2 before 10. Texting 2 people before 10 a.m. A text of gratitude, of love, of appreciation. Hey, we need to get together. It's been a while before, since we've had lunch. I'm just checking in on you. I heard your mom had surgery, or how's she doing? Check in on people. In fact, you know what we're going to do right now? This could be dangerous. Pull out your phones. Pull out your phones right now, and I want you to send a text. Before you do it, just think to yourself, who needs a text from me right now? Just say those words in your mind, and there will be a name or a face will come into your mind. Send that person a text message right now. So everybody do it. Take out your phones if you have them. Send somebody a text. You can take 30 seconds or whatever. Send that person a text message of love, appreciation, gratitude. If you can be specific, do that. I wish I had I'd take out my phone, take a picture, and this be like, honey, I lost them. They're all on their phones. It's just be like, man, it was awful, honey. I'm never going back to Texas. Some of you are on Instagram. I know it. You're not doing it. Okay, now some of you will get a text back. Some of you will get a text back, and some of you will get a text back that's like, are you okay? You all right? All right? Okay? That might be a sign that you need to send the text a little bit more often, all right, than just when you're forced to. Yeah, this guy's making me text you right now. Sure love you. Okay, or others, you'll get a text back and be like, what do you want? Right? What do you want? Send that text. You can put it in your phone, the little reminders that come up. Now, if you try this for 3 days, and you're going to be hooked. That's 6 people. Like, Dr. Dave, I don't know 6 people. Yes, you do, yeah. Send a text. It'll pop up, maybe at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever, in the morning. Just send a text. Please try it. This can be life-changing, and even at times, life-saving. Someone needs to hear from you. Someone's struggling out there. In fact, if you treat everybody you meet as if they're going through a really serious struggle in their life, you're going to be right more than half the time. Assume that there's a struggle, there's a difficulty going on in their lives. Now, I've done this, again, all over the country, and I've asked people to send these texts. Occasionally, people will send a text back to me, and they'll take a little snap of it. Here's some examples. Having a great time at my conference. It makes me realize what a special family we have. Love you both. Who is this? Wrong number, lady. If you get a text back from one of your kids like this, there's your sign. There's your sign. You need to check in with your kiddos just a little bit more often if this is what you're getting back. Here's another one. Hi, sweetie. Just thinking about how sweet and kind you are. Who is this? Your husband. Is this meeting that dull and uninteresting? You're thinking about that? So you may get one of these types of texts. Keep sending the texts. It's a simple, easy, it takes 30 seconds a day. You're not too busy for that. Text 2 before 10. It'll change your life. It'll change the lives of those loved ones. Okay, gratitude. If you're a big fan of TED Talks, if you have not listened to this one, put this one on your list to listen to, maybe on your drive back, or listen to at the office, right? They have permission, right, Dr. Avery, to spend time at work listening to this. This is a great one. He says, in daily life, we must see that it is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratefulness that makes us happy. Oh man, that's good. Put that on the gram. He says, gratefulness is the key to a happy life that we hold in our hands. Because if we are not grateful, then no matter how much we have, we will not be happy because we will always want to have something else or something more. Oh, wow. Think back to the happiness pie. That's that 10% slice. We're always wanting, and not being grateful for what we have. A wise professor that I had in a class, he once said this. He said, you can never get enough of what you don't need, because what you don't need will never satisfy you. I told that to my wife once, and she says, that's not, I could never get enough purses, or enough shoes. According to this one, think about that. We hold that key in our hands, that key of gratitude. All right, one of my favorite is RAKs, turning outward, RAKs, random acts of kindness, random acts of kindness. This is all kinds of things. In fact, if you're having a bad day, just go to YouTube and put in random acts of kindness and just watch. Did you see in Minnesota, at a Dairy Queen of all places, in Minnesota, 900 people paid for the person behind them. Their meal. It started with one person, said, hey, yeah, can I pay for the person behind me? They did it. And then the cashier said, hey, this person, they actually asked the person, would you like to pay for the person behind you? And they did it. 2.5 days straight of everyone paying for the person behind. Can you imagine being that one that didn't do it, that jackwagon? It's like, he's like, hey, sir, would you like to pay for their meal? Heck no, right? It's like, oh man, yeah, news stations were covering all of this story in Minnesota, and then some geezer, just blew it all. We'll say he forgot his wallet, right? Okay, well, we'll give him the credit. But random acts of kindness, in fact, Martin Seligman, he said, doing a kind act produces the single most reliable momentary increase in well-being of any exercise we have tested. Simple. Little things. I heard another story of a man who locked his keys in his car. He's locked his keys in. He's so frustrated. He kicks the tire and says some choice words. And a teenager on a bicycle, is rolling by and he sees that. And he says, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? He says, oh, just locked my keys in the car. And he says, oh man, do you have a cell phone or is there somebody you can call or wife for keys? He says, my wife has another set of keys, but she doesn't have another car to get here. And I live 7 miles away. And the guy's just really frustrated. You know what that teenager did? That teenager said, hey, man, no problem. Give me the address, whatever, and I'll ride over there on his bike. It was an hour. He was gone. Came back. The man tried to give him some money, and he said, oh, no, man, no worries. I needed the exercise. You're good. And then he rides off into the sunset. This guy couldn't believe it. Kindness, simple, random acts of kindness will improve happiness and positivity faster than any other happy hack out there. And they've done hundreds of studies to test. This happens in relationships as well. My daughter and I, when we were in Missouri, our oldest daughter, we were doing a little bit of this action, right? Colliding. She was about 11 or 12 years old in that stage. And when she was at school, I decided I'm going to do her laundry. So I do her laundry, I fold it, I put it on her bed, I get a little sticky note and a Hershey's Kiss. I just put it on there and I said, Chandler, I'm so sorry that we've been battling. And then I said, I love being your dad. Now that's different, isn't it? Tell your kids you love them. That's very, very important. I love you. Lots of I love yous, but occasionally sneak in I absolutely love being your mom or your dad. Slip that in there, and that makes a difference. And those little text 2 before 10s, put that in there once in a while and see what happens in relationships. Because it melts and softens hearts. Service, kindness to others. All right, so what is it that predicts staying alive in this life? What is it exactly? They've done studies on this and meta-analysis, studies of studies. And this is just a few factors from all these studies, kind of representative that shows different strength of factors that improve quality and longevity. Clean air, not a very strong predictor. Hypertension treatment, being lean versus overweight, that's actually an interesting one. A lot of other people just assume that it's a stronger predictor than it is. Exercise, other studies have shown it's actually further down to the left. Exercise, super good for us. Cardiac rehab, the flu vaccine, we're not going to talk about that one. We're quitting drinking, quitting smoking. Okay, top 2. What are they? What really predicts how long we're going to live in this life? Number 2. Any guesses? Close relationships. So what's number 1? The number 1 predictor, my friends, of how long and how well we'll live in this life? Quitting online. That's right. Someone escort him out here. Yeah, just get him out. Just go. No, it's not quitting online shopping. It's actually, you can take a picture of that and like send it to your wife. Be like, honey, you gotta stop. You've got to stop. It's social integration. Did you know it's this? Isn't that wild how fun it is to get together? So what's the difference in close relationships and social integration? Using COVID terms, that's kind of sad. Close relationships are those people who you're quarantined with. Social integration are all those people you couldn't see because you were quarantined. It's the workers, it's the people at church, your neighbors, your extended family. That, my friends, no wonder we tanked in happiness. It went down to all-time low levels. We were not connected. So be grateful for this. This is really powerful. For those people that you work with, the relationships, social integration is powerful. This is how we integrate here in the Schramm fam. You see, this is how we communicate every night. How you doing? Yeah, it's time for bed. Yeah, no, just kidding. We set this one up. Loneliness raises blood pressure to the point where the risk of heart attack and stroke is doubled. Emotional isolation is more dangerous health risk than smoking or high blood pressure. In fact, in the UK, they have actually appointed a minister of loneliness. Not even kidding, right? Look it up. A minister of loneliness, because that is the biggest epidemic. It's loneliness, not being able to connect with other people. It's powerful. Okay, looking upward. So we search inward, turn outward. We look upward. I had a friend who, I saw this in their social media post. I asked if I could share this. Now, taking a look at the size of that dog, do you think that dog, even, with a run and start, even standing, could jump over that net? Okay, yes, you kind of take a look at that. And many of us are like that. Many of us have experienced both being on that side of the net and talking and yelling at someone on that side of the net. Now, let me kind of zoom this back out. Stanley's a pretty smart guy, so this surprised me. He suddenly didn't know how to get around the pickleball net when I called him. It's been there for a few years, not even a few days. He even gave a half-lazy effort to try to jump over it. He sat there looking at me like, come on, man, open the gate. The principle from this, I love this for at least these two reasons. Number one, how many of you have ever experienced the net and it looks this close? When the net is this close and the stress and the problems are this close, can you even see over the net? Can you even see around the net? No, when you're experiencing stress and trauma and difficulty, it is right here in your face. And then other people are like, hey, you moron, go around the net, right? Or this is what you should do. Oh my God, why don't you just jump over the net, man? Is that very helpful? No. Have compassion in others' pains. Don't be so quick to judge and to send them, and here's the solution. Have compassion for others. And when you're going through it, pause, breathe, and I'll share some other things that will help you to be able to see differently. When we're positive, in fact, here's the principle. Negativity narrows. Negativity narrows. The studies have actually shown that literally in our vision. We can't see as much. We can't see the solution. We can't see to jump over or go around the net. Positivity broadens and builds. The broaden and build theory of positivity and happiness. We tend to see and notice and find what we are looking for. A few years ago, my wife and I, we decided to do some landscaping in our yard. Okay, this is not our yard, just those horticulture people. This is not our yard. Okay, yeah, we're not that good. But we decided to do some landscaping in our yard. How much do you think I was paying attention to our neighbors' yards and flowers and trees before we decided to landscape? Like none, like not at all. I would just drive to work and just didn't even pay attention, didn't notice those things. Now, as soon as we decide to landscape, how much am I paying attention to our neighbor's yard? Oh yeah, I'm looking over, I'm like, oh, those are hostas and those need to be in shade and look how far apart, look at these rocks and trees and all that. Why? Because I was looking for it. You will always find what you're looking for. Yeah, if you want there's aliens that live on the moon. You Google it, you will find it. You will always find what you're looking for, no matter what position, political, religious, work, it doesn't matter. You will always find dirt on someone. You'll find the negativity. So you really have two mindsets. You can look for things to be grateful for. You can look for things to complain about. You will always find them. Choose to look for the good in another person and in a situation. You will always find it. Choose to look for the good, and you will find it in your lives. Okay, why? Because we are born with 5 times as many brain cells, neurons that are wired for negativity, for every one brain cell that is wired for opportunity and positivity. Isn't that crazy? Already we have a negativity bias. 5 to 1. How many of you noticed it already? Raise your hand if you noticed it. Okay, yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, Dr. Dave, you made a mistake. Yeah, you made a mistake. Why? To point out that this is true. We are wired to notice the negative. Your child comes home with a report card and they have 5 A's and a C-. Where does your brain go immediately? It's like, what the heck? What happened here, man? I thought you were going to go in and talk with the teacher, retake this test, and turn this homework on this assignment. You're going to work. You're like, man, I got an A in math and in science, and you're looking at English, and we do. We focus on the negative in any situation. You hang up your holiday Christmas lights, and you drive by that night, and there's one bulb burned out. Where's your brain go? It's right to that dang bulb. And you're like, man, shoot. Yeah, that green grass, and you have one brown spot. Where's your brain go? The dang brown spot. We're wired to focus on the negative. So choose to focus on the positive. It takes 5 times as much energy to find that positive. But find it, point it out in other people and in other situations, because we're much more likely to find and focus on the negative than we are the positive. Okay, smiling. Everybody smile. Okay, that was fake. Okay, that's your real smile. Smiling is actually one of the best superpowers that you can have. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture. I'm just going to look at your faces and see what happens. When you see this, what's your reaction? And this is universal. It's a universal, oh. And when we see that, right? Why? Because we have mirror neurons in our brains. And when we see someone else smile, we smile. When my wife talks to her friend from Tennessee, how do I know that she's talking to her friend from Tennessee on the phone? Because my wife is smiling and she's talking with a little twang in her voice. That's how I know. My wife mirrors that. She's like, honey, it's not oil, it's oil. Right? And I'll hear her talk about this. We tend to mirror and reflect those we're talking with. Okay, not all smiles are created equal though, right? Some are a little bit crazy. You're like, oh man. Yes. Yeah, some evoke a different type. Get rid of that one. Raise your hand in this room if you feel like you smile. Be honest, because I know half of you aren't honest. If you smile at least 20 times per day, raise your hand. Where are smiles? Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Research suggests only about 1/3 of adults are smiling at least 20 times per day. Wow, isn't that sad? 14% of adults smile less than 5 times per day. 14% of adults. It's like, buy them a Happy Meal, okay? Next time, just be like, here, yeah, grumpy. Smiling. How many times do children smile? How many times do you think children smile? Young kids. Up to 400 times per day. In fact, what's the number one crusher of kids' happiness? Parents are. It's you. It's you. You're the ones. If it wasn't for parents and teachers, kids would be happy all the time. But kids are always smiling. Well, this one didn't get the memo, but most kids are smiling. Most kids are smiling most of the time. Because why? They don't focus on all the negativity and the news and all the stuff that's going on around them. They focus on the simple pleasures of life. So simply smiling when you see other people. Stop, pause, smile, look up, get away from the phone and put that down. In fact, smiling in one study produced as much dopamine, the woohoo chemical in our brains, as 2,000 bars of chocolate. And you don't get all the calories, man. So it's just smiling, choosing to be happy. Okay, how many of you are morning people? Okay, let's escort them all out right now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we like you. Okay, yeah, I'm not a morning person. Today, yeah, this is me today, though I sprang right out. I'm like, yes, I'm in Texas. I got to go speak. So I was happy today. Starting your day in a positive way. One study showed this. They had one group of people watch 3 minutes of negative news, and then they gauge their happiness the rest of the day. So 3 minutes of negative news, and then they monitored. They found out that those people who watched 3 minutes of negative news to start their day were 27% more likely to end their day and rate their day as a bad day. Isn't that crazy? How you start your day, because your brain, it goes through and it kind of washes and cleans things out. You wake up and you're open, you're fresh to whatever you put into your brain that day. How many of you are waking up and scroll your phone? Yeah, and there's positivity, there's some negativity. Yeah, you know who you are. Start your day in a positive way. Here's some suggestions, some little happy hacks. Exercise, yoga, stretching. You can watch a positive YouTube video. You can. Text 2 before 10. How many of you are going to do that? Yes, all of you. None of you. All of you. Yes. You're going to do that. You're going to try it. Drink a full glass of water. I drank 3 full glasses of water this morning. Gets the body started, and scrolling is, not the best. Try to start your day in a positive way. Try it. If you have a great habit, continue to do that habit. Try, that'd be great. To try something different, try it. Stick with it. And look, watch for those results. Other things you could do: serve, care, meaning, finding meaning in your life. A lot of that comes from turning outward, looking upward. I know Ryan. Ryan is a good friend of mine. He lives now in Arizona. He Googled up and said, okay, here is National Crossing Guard Appreciation Day. How many of you even knew that existed? That is, yeah, a couple people, you've probably been crossing guards. How many of you knew that? He decided to go to the store, buy some things, put together little packs, and go and give them out to crossing guards with his kids. How powerful. They're going to remember that forever. Wow. Doing something meaningful, looking upward, finding that hope, positivity, optimism, transcendence. How many of you have held a newborn baby in the last month? Isn't that? And we say it's awesome. It's awesome because it really is that awe to be able to hold, look into their eyes and think, wow, this is so powerful. That's that idea of transcendence, of awe, to look out or go up in an airplane and I look out and I see a different world, a different perspective. It's amazing. We had an awesome lightning storm come through Logan, Utah about a couple weeks ago. We just sat on the deck and I took pictures and we just sat there in awe. That's really a good state to be in, to pause, to reflect. Wow, we live in a beautiful and an amazing world with so much around us. Pause and appreciate that. And that puts things in proper perspective. Press forward. Press forwarding is about being persistent and patient in the challenges and the struggles. I like to think of it as two big circles. Everyone draw two big circles in your mind. One that is things that really matter. The other one is things that I can control. And where those two overlap is where I try to focus my time and my attention. There's so many things in this world that we have zero control over, that we worry about, that we stew about, that our minds go there. We replay scenarios and think about what I want to say to this person and we can't sleep. Slow down, pause, those two circles. And then I made a little triangle and I thought, wow, here is the triangle of tough times. Tough times really come down to our choices, circumstances, and others people's choices. How much control do we have often over our circumstances and others' choices? Very little, but we have a whole lot more control over our choices and what we do. In tough times, we focus on what we can do instead of blaming the circumstances or blaming another person. For example, I like to think of it as becoming a first responder versus a nuclear reactor. A first responder is trained to do what? They come upon a scene, they see an accident, and they don't react and just fruitcake and like, oh my gosh, you're not going to make it for sure. What about you? No, wow, huh? They don't do that, do they? No, they're trained to respond. That's why they're called a first responder, not a first reactor. They come on the scene, they what? Blood pressure, heart rate, breathing, and they check for the vital signs to make sure, okay, I've been trained to respond to this instead of react. When it comes to anger and our strong emotions, if we would simply slow down, I call it snap. If we would slow down, even snap our fingers physically, all right, I'm not going to react, I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to take that hook that my child gives me. I'm going to go back. The first S, pause and catch yourself in the heat of the moment. That is the hardest part to do because that's when we want to just react, snap at somebody or a situation or a child or a coworker or the driver next to us. Ask yourself, how is the situation making me feel and why? Next, notice and name the emotion. Get curious, not furious with that. In fact, one of the best books on anxiety is by Judson Brewer. It's called Unwinding Anxiety. It's so, so good. It's in my Dave's Favs, which I'll show you here at the end. He talks about something, I know you're going to think it's cheesy and corny, but they've actually shown that it works. When you get really frustrated, angry, upset, any kind of strong emotion, pause and say, that's it. Isn't that wild? I was like, what? This is corny. And he's shown scientifically what happens in our brains. It takes this part of the brain to say, and to get curious. Even in your mind, he says it works. Just say, And that will interrupt the cycle because back here is the anger and the reaction. Right here is the getting curious. So notice, name that emotion. The A stands for, will this really matter? Ask yourself, is this really going to matter 3 minutes from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now? Is this situation that I'm so angry about, is it really going to matter? Puts it in perspective. And then ponder and plan or pause and pass. Ponder and plan a rational response or pause and pass. Sometimes leaving an unkind response is the best response. I'm not going to take the hook. Do you know what a hook is? A hook is anything that a person says or does that immediately gets under your skin. I'll give you a quick example. Our daughter, my wife and I, we're getting ready to head to a meeting. It's dinner time. We finish dinner. We start shouting orders to our teenage kids. Hey, can you guys clean up? Can you put this away? We got to run to a meeting. And to my oldest, I put my arm around her. I said, hey, can you unload the dishwasher? It's not that hard. It won't take you that long. And she said this, ugh, if it's not that hard, why don't you do it? Right? I was like, why, you little, okay? So yeah, it's easier said than done. When a child, no other teenagers has ever said anything sassy to you? That was really hard. But I took a breath, and I went over, I put my arm around her, and I was like, I did give her one of the, it wasn't very hard. I was like, all right, I'm sorry. If you guys will just help us out, then we'll have dessert. We're going to have ice cream when we get back. Being able to not take the hook takes time and patience going through this and being, okay, breathe, don't jump on her, right? Don't take her out. Yes, it's unkind, but being able to pause, breathe, and respond rather than react. So much of what we're talking about with pressing forward, responding to stress is, we need to monitor our heart rate, but more importantly, we need to get our hearts right. Because our hearts, when they're not right, and we go to battle with someone else, and all of a sudden, a problem to be solved becomes more important than a person to be loved. Don't ever let that happen. And when it does happen, be quick to forgive, to mend those relationships. Don't ever let a problem to be solved become more important than a person to be loved. When my kids head out the door, I try to tell them, remember, people are more important than problems. I know that people are more important than problems. I'm like, yes, they've memorized it. People are more important than problems. Okay, some of you are familiar with this. Reuben Hill, talking about the ABCX model of stress and managing stress in our lives. He says it really comes down to two things, our resources and our perceptions, how we perceive the situation and the resources we have to turn to in that situation. Each of you have resources. It's important to be able to name them, write them down. What is it? Is it a pet? Is it journaling? Is it exercise? What can I do when I don't feel right and I need to get my heart in a better place? Turn to those resources instead of reacting. Choose to respond. Well, I know that the principles that I've talked about today, they're real. They work. Let me ask really quick, how many, raise your hand, have you received a text back? Anyone received a text back? Okay, yeah, look at this, several. The rest of you, you're loved, I promise. We're in a very important meeting or something, right? And they will respond. They will respond. If you get a humorous one, send it to me. If you will take time, make time to search inward, discover your strengths, turn outward, use those, be grateful, kind, text 2 before 10. Look upward, finding hope, meaning, optimism, purpose. Make time for that awe, that transcendence, and then press forward knowing that through the trials and the struggles and those tough times, remember what you can control up at the top of that triangle. Here, I'm going to leave you with some of Dave's faves. These are, and I've read all kinds of books and in this area of positivity, on happiness, on well-being. These are some of my favorites in this area. On gratitude, depression, the upward spiral, one of my all-time favorites on that. There's that one by Judson Brewer on unwinding anxiety. Gratitude, the happiness pie. You can see that one down on the end. Blinkist is simply a service. You have to pay for the service, and it condenses these books and thousands of others into 15 minutes. It gives you the Blink version of it. So I listen to over 300 now. And if I really like it, then I buy it. But it gives you the summary of the books. And so for me, I love it. And I love to share it because I'm always on the go, or I can exercise or drive to school. It takes me 12 minutes. I can almost listen to a complete book in the Blinkist form. I'm like, I really like that. I want to learn more about it in the Blinkist form. Okay, let me leave you with this. How many of you, parents, if you had that child when you can't get your child to bed fast enough? Have you ever had that? It's been a long day. Okay, the rest of you are not telling the truth again. That's okay. So you're like, I'm done being a parent. This is when our kids were in Missouri. Our kids are 8, 6, 4, and 2. And those are long days for my wife, and she's home with them, and I come home from work from Mizzou, long day. And okay, here's dinner time. Here's tubby time, right? Lotion time, brushing time, drink time, story time. Now it's bedtime. Stay in your beds. Okay, yeah. And at first, how many of you know the different voices and the tones? It's like, okay, hey, listen, just stay in your bed tonight, okay? All right, no coming out, okay? Yeah, we're good. You're good. Okay, you had your drink. You've been potty. Stay in your bed. And then what happens? 2 minutes later, I see this coming out. I'm like, okay, get back to bed. Okay, listen, no more of this. You got to stay in your beds, all right? I'm serious. Stay in your beds. What happens? Oh, man, yeah. 3 minutes later, I hear the door open and I hear some footsteps. Dad? Okay, stay in your beds, dang it. Just stay in your beds, please. Now, at this point, I'm threatening, I'm begging, I'm bargaining, and then I did something I am not proud of, my friends. I lost it, and I said this. $20 bill for anyone that just stays in their beds, all right? Just stay in your beds, dang it. Stay in your beds. I'm about ready to duct tape their doors shut, right? I've had enough. I've blown it. I'm trying to keep my cool here. $20 bill, man, if you just stay in your bed, okay? And then I go back to my room. I'm flustered with myself. I shut my door. I'm like, okay, I just need my own little time out here. Less than 10 minutes later, I heard it. Coming down the hallway, and then I heard it stop right by my door. I just started shaking my head, blood's boiling. I said, wait for it. And then I heard something on the door, and then I said, get back to your room. Off down the hall. I opened my door. There's a note from my 8-year-old daughter. This is a picture of the actual note that my daughter wrote. She said this. Thanks a lot. I know it can be hard being a mom or dad, but you gotta stick with it. And I thought, holy cow. My heart melted. You see on the side it says, look on back. I turned the note over and it says, don't worry, we still love you. Oh my gosh. Here's Dr. Dave and 10 years of school, and I never blew the perfect parent, and I totally blew it. So when life gets really stressful and there's struggles, there's all kinds of stuff, and you're unhappy and it's not good, I hope you'll remember my daughter's advice and stick with it. Stick with it. It's worth it. Stay with us. This journey is full of all kinds of stress, struggles, and trials and tribulations. Stick with it. Search inward. Turn outward. Look upward and press forward. Thank you.